live again.
For the worse and for the better.
It's all set up, so it's really touching. It's live. It's going live with
To live a life full of adventure.
Just say live stream will begin at 2.
Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchor down to be with friends. Anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change.
Okay,
We're gonna make it, you and I.
Right now.
Enduring winds and stormy weather. To live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better. To live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchor down to be with friends. Anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change. We're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather. To live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. worse and for the better. fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure.
All right, just doing a little test for anybody that's listening, watching our deal. We're seeing if the microphone level is good. Looks pretty good. All right, just doing a little test. We'll see you at 2.
When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better, to live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchor down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better, to live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchor down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds adventure. When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better, to live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky, anchored down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye, traveling on the winds of change. We're gonna make it, you and I, enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough, just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better, to live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky, anchored down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye, traveling on the winds of change. We're gonna make it, you and I, enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough, just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. worse and for the better. To live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchored down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better. To live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchored down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. So we packed up full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchor down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better, to live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchor down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. worse and for the better. To live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchored down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. When we met, we knew that we did things differently, but with no regrets, both living life authentically. So we packed up this antique boat to make a life upon the sea. For the worse and for the better. To live a life full of adventure. Living simply on our own, powered by the sea and sky. Anchored down to be with friends, anchor up to say goodbye. Traveling on the winds of change, we're gonna make it, you and I. Enduring winds and stormy weather, to live a life full of adventure. Some days it's easy, other days it's tough. Just finding our way and fixing all of our broken stuff. And we don't have many things, but we have enough to live this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. of this life together. A life full of adventure. Emily and Clark's adventure. Hello, everybody. It's Emily.
And I'm Clark.
On Sailing Vessel Temptress.
And we are in an odd place right now. We're between hurricanes or tropical storms. We took down our awning for Fred. And Grace.
Yeah.
Grace is on its way, probably tomorrow, next day, something like that. I haven't gotten that detailed yet. But we didn't put the awning back up. Well, it's hot. It's like, it was 101 last we checked in this aft cabin. So we turned the air conditioner on, and it's cooling down now. We didn't give it quite enough time, but it's down into the high 80s now, I think.
80s, yeah.
Anyway, we did this to survive. So it's probably going to be a little echoey because we're in this spot. Somebody comment and tell us if you can hear us okay. We can turn it up and down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm on level 6.
Okay.
Level 6. And the air conditioning is working. I was just proofreading the installation manual.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the installation manual anyway, so that's going to be available sometime soon. We hope everybody's doing well. I've got the questions up here on my phone today, so we're watching you type your questions. If you haven't already, leave us a comment, which is over that way, on mirror image, so I'm confused. That way, or down below if you're on your phone. Tell us where you're watching from today, and if you have any questions, leave them, and we will try to answer them today.
Yep.
First of all, Dan, who's 67, is worried he can't come out here because maybe he's waited too long. But we have lots of people out here who are in their 60s and 70s. I'd say.
Yeah, there's a huge. It's a new thing now. Kids are going off now. They get enough money to last like a year, and they go off sailing until they run out of money and they go home. That's not how it used to be. It used to be you retired before you went sailing. So I took off kind of young, and I was the kid in my 30s. Most people were like 58 minimum before they went off sailing. So 60s is not really old for this. People have been doing it at that age for a long time. It's about your body and what your body can take. And that's all it really is.
Yep.
Some days I think I'm too old for this.
Some days I think I'm too old for this. But there are people out here in Luperon, for instance. There's couples in their 20s. There's single people in their 80s, and people who are traveling together in their 80s and 90s.
Steve and Jan,
90s, 70s
pushing
and 80s.
80. They're in their later 70s, I think.
Yeah, but you'd be surprised, I think. But if you use it, you don't lose it, I guess.
Yeah. I met a couple down in Honduras on the Bay Islands back when I was there, so that would have been almost 20 years ago. Anyway, they said they were in their late 70s, maybe even he was 80, and they said, we can do this, but we're right on the edge. So we know that if we go home and visit for a month and like sleep on someone's couch, we'll get out of shape and we won't be able to come back. We just have to keep doing it until we can't do it anymore, because the life is going to keep you younger. Anyway, enough on that.
Oh, somebody wants to know about the earthquake.
Yep, we had an earthquake. Haiti had an earthquake. It's just over the hill. It was all over the little local communication network because the people on land could feel it. But out here in the water, we didn't even know what happened. It wasn't big enough or of the right type or causing the right underwater shift to do a tsunami thing. So when you're on a boat, it's like our house in Florida. You can't feel earthquakes because sand just kind of shifts. Water's the same thing.
We did feel one about this time last year when we got here in the grocery store. Like all of the shelves sort of like went poof.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, did a truck just hit the
And
building?
I said, no,
or
hurricane, and she insisted it was a truck.
Yeah, and then we thought it was an earthquake. So, yeah, they had.
Or did I say hurricane?
guess.
Earthquake. I definitely was an earthquake. I experienced some in Seattle when I was there. So once you feel one, you know what it is. We're both grew up in areas with very solid ground, so we didn't feel a lot in our childhood.
Yeah. Let's see, what's next? Dave wants to know, do I use spreadsheets for provisioning? And
Everything.
I use spreadsheets for everything! Including, like, we have a song database for our band right now. The nice thing about Excel spreadsheets is once you have data in there, you can manipulate it and print things and merge things and do all kinds of stuff. But I guess the short answer is for provisioning, I break things down into like weekly and monthly
budgets. The reason I provisioned is so that before, when we're at a place where we can get groceries, I know how much I can realistically buy. Part of that is just knowing how big the boat is, but part of it is also knowing the expiration dates and the life.
Kind of a ratio thing, too.
Yeah.
Like you can, first off, never have enough corned beef hash.
We learned you can never have enough corned beef hash.
But you don't want to get more of this than you get of that, because you would have that at the end.
But and I pack things that last longer, deeper, and I buy more of them. So corned beef hash is one thing. I think it lasts like 3 years when you buy just the expiration date on it. By the way, there's a really good website if you're interested in provisioning. I think it's called eatbydate.com, where you can check out like for nuts or anything really that you want to provision. There's the best buy date that's usually on labels, and then there's the actual don't eat it past this date, and this site helps you break it down what those things are. But not to go on forever about this, but I just do a calculation like, okay, corned beef hash is something we eat. It has a 3-year shelf life. We eat it like maybe once a week for breakfast, therefore 50 cans a year. That means we can hold 150 cans a year and go through them before they expire.
Right.
I'm not going to stock 150 cans of corned beef, but it's good to know that kind of stuff.
But you can't buy it here is the point. So.
Yeah. But I learned that the first year, though, because I overstocked some things that we didn't go through before they expired. So thinking about sort of those are the variables you have to balance out your space, how much you eat it, and how long it lasts.
Her spreadsheet is a worthy thing to get. If it isn't already there, let's put it in the treasure chest for Patreon.
Okay.
It's just a way we can give out digital stuff. It's kind of like a starting point. If you don't like corned beef hash, just cross that line out. But it kind of is going to mention things from salt to, I don't know, cheeses.
Well, you're talking about a list of what is in our pantry.
What we took off with from Florida. Because when we went the second time, we kind of started with the same list.
Sure.
It's a good list to start with. Adjust it for yourself. But when you're just going cold from the beginning, things like that can give you a leg up.
Yeah. And the other mistake I guess I made early on was assuming that we would eat the same way on the boat that we did on land, which we didn't end up doing. There's a lot of, like, I have a smaller kitchen here. It's hotter because we don't have air conditioning, in the whole house. So I'm cooking less, so there's just other adjustments I had to make. So if you can live on the boat for like a month before you go off somewhere and then judge based on kind of what that month looks like, it's good.
Okay.
But yeah, sure, I'll dig up one of my 20 different kinds of spreadsheets for provisioning, and I'll share it on Patreon for sure.
Okay.
Question for you.
So you can catch up on reading?
Yeah. Protecting electronics. Shane wants to know how you protect PCs, hard drives, those sorts of things.
Well, if it doesn't move, and it's just like a circuit board, there is something you can do. And I did it when I first took off, and it worked really well. This was like 20 years ago. Basically, the things that I did this to just became obsolescent before they died of corrosion. It's what the military requires. I was working for a hardware company a while ago, and they all required it. And the guys at the hardware company, they would hire the board company to do this. They didn't realize how easy it was. It's called conformal coating. And you can actually buy it in a spray can, and you just spray it on, kind of like varnish, and it covers over everything and kind of makes it waterproof after the fact. I haven't gotten any yet, but I'm either going to call for conformal coating, or I might even do the ones here. Those bank managers will certainly be conformal coated before they get sold properly. The ones I'm selling off tempters here to friends in the boat don't have it because I haven't bought the stuff here.
I left my water bottle up there.
Sure,
Sorry.
you can use that.
And also, what
else?
What languages do you program in?
Oh, whatever I need to, but usually it's C. I once did a AT&T's basically a modification of their web server so that it could do all the security that needed to be done. I did that in Java just because I had never used Java before, and I was free to choose anything. But C++ is, the most powerful language that has the most library support, and it's the best one to use. I'm not a fan of the interpreted newer languages like Python and that kind of thing. I know you can do a lot with them. It's just, I hate to get into a situation where I get like 90% of where I want to go and I can't get there from here and I have to redo it. So if I use a low-level language, I'm good. And also lately I've been doing some GPU stuff, and really you need to have full control to be able to program the GPU. There you go.
Buck wants to know, where can he get a good, cheap boat with good bones if he's mechanical and isn't afraid of doing some work?
Well, when you figure that out, tell other people, because that's what everybody's looking for. Because no one else is looking for that. Now, of course, there's an advantage to buying an old, cheap boat that's really solid. Now, Temptress was this. And she was a mess system-wise. And I got her for, well, in Seattle, a good rate. But, different places, I could have got a cheaper boat. And then I tore her down and built her back up. And I'm glad I did. I have a much better boat than I would have had if I'd gone otherwise. And that's good for me because I've already had this one for 30 years. And who knows how long I'm going to have it for. It's a way to go. But it is a lot of work. Looking back on it, it's a lot of work. If I took the hours I spent working on Temptress, and I hate to say this because I love doing this kind of work. But if I just went to engineering... I could have just bought like a $500,000 boat and been done with it. But there are some really good boats. I think the older boats have more of a good bones thing going on. They're overbuilt. They're ridiculously overbuilt, so they don't flex. And fiberglass, if it doesn't flex, it just lasts forever. If it flexes, it starts to deteriorate and crack. So the newer boats are built to be very light, mostly because you pay by the pound for everything you buy to put into it. So they're lightweight, and I don't think they have quite the lifespan. So what I'm kind of saying is, if you got a 60s or early 70s boat that was one of those old solid Valiant kind of things, you can put your effort into it because that boat's going to outlive you. But if you were to buy something new and modern, especially not really designed to be a cruiser, I like Catalinas, but they're really not built to get beat on like this. If it was already 10 years old and had been beat on for 10 years old and you put a lot of effort into it, you might be chasing down, it might be time to retire the hull before the work is worth it. Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
And also, how long are you wanting to keep your boat for? There's a lot of people who do this sailing thing like for a few years and then go back to land life. So why spend 2 of those 3 years fixing up the boat and getting ready? And there's also opportunities you can crew on other people's boats, or
there's lots of ways to do it.
There's lots of different ways to do it.
I wouldn't. I don't want to say buy a new boat, then you'll be fine, because the systems in a new boat are often screwed up. They were all installed at the same time. They haven't been shaken down. There's always problems with new boats. And also, it's not set up the way you want it to be set up. So you're probably still going to spend a bunch of time changing everything around.
Mm-hmm. Mike, on the same note, as far as buying a boat on a limited budget, would you go with a boat that is bigger and needs substantial work that can be DIY, or would you say go with smaller with less in need of attention?
When I got into it, I was going to go smaller than Temptress, actually. She was 5 or 7 feet longer than what I was looking for. The more I've been sailing, the bigger the boat. They're all small in the ocean, and they're all too big in a marina. But a bigger boat gives you more room, you can carry more stuff, and it's easier to sail, and it's more comfortable. So, and by big, I really mean weight. As long as its performance is good, the heavier boat is better, in my opinion, than a lighter boat.
Okay. So you would go with the heavier...
Yeah, if there were trade-off was such, I would give a lot of points to the bigger boat. But, on the other hand, everything in the bigger boat's going to cost you more. The pulleys, the blocks, are going to have to be of that size and not that size. You get to a certain point, and they don't carry them at the discount chandleries, and now you're like paying full price for them. So it can get real expensive real fast when you get over 50 feet, for example.
Talk about the AC. People are trying me in about AC.
Okay.
What's the update?
Just talked to Russell recently. He bought 100 units. They should be in by the end of the month, I believe. He's getting all the other components. We're having trouble getting the supply chain from China on all those. So he's just going to take a profit hit, and he's basically buying them on eBay and then just going to resend them out. So he's kind of paying full price on a lot of the components to be able to get them out. which is great. So that first 100 will be out pretty soon, which got me inspired. And this morning I started writing the install manual. That'll be out when I get the first kit. So we'll all be getting the first kit kind of together. But when I get my first kit, that's the same as everybody else's. I think my friend Steve is going to end up getting it if his boat is launched by then, because it has to be in the water, for the thing to work. I'm going to install it. Like I said, he's an older guy, and he's had some bad health lately, and he could really benefit from a nice, cool place to sleep. So we're going to put one in his boat, and we're going to film the process. So there'll be a manual, a paper manual that will basically tell you how to do it. And it's not rocket science. This is really easy. If you can solder plumbing copper, you can do this just from the manual. But then there will be a video on me actually doing it. And it should be pretty easy when you actually watch it being done.
And I'm proofreading the manual, and I have no idea how air condining works besides what the videos you've done so far.
Okay.
So I'll be a good test.
Well,
I'll
I
make
hope
sure
you understand it now. You read the manual.
There's some wording and things that we can change. So I'll help with the technical writing and making sure that other people can understand it.
Yeah, and it's working. I think it's cooler than when I came in here and sat down.
Yeah. It's working. It's taken a long time because we don't have our awning up, and it's just the sun is beating down on the decks today.
Yeah.
This is like the worst time of day for heat on the boat.
But that big awning, the thing Emily calls the dragon wing, it makes so much difference. When I used to live half on the boat and half in my house, when I was back in Florida, whenever I got to the boat, the first thing I do would put that big awning up, because the boat would just cool down 10 degrees down below.
Big difference.
Yeah.
But we chose this time because we have people from the UK and Mozambique and Hawaii and all these people that can tune in. But yeah, this is a miserable part of the day for us. Let's see. What do you do to protect wood decking?
Okay.
What products do you use, and how often do you apply them?
Well, I don't do anything anymore.
Don't look at our deck.
I buy planks of teak, I put it on a saw, and I cut it into strips, and I have like 30 or 40 of them left, 6-7 footers. And I pick the worst looking board and tear it up. Luckily on Tempters it's glued down teak. And then I just glue the new piece down. So I'm just replacing the deck bit by bit. It needs it. It's 50 years old. But there was a point where I decided I wanted my decks beautiful, and this is actually one of the reasons why I'm having to replace them now, because I took 10 years of life out doing this. I'm not recommending it, but oh my God, it looked good. I sanded them down and then did a 2-part cleaning, that acid alkali cleaning, and then I used Sickens or Cetal. It's either Cetal or Sickens, whichever one.
Also used on the house top.
Sickens. There's a product called Sickens. You bought it in gallons, and it came in clear and gold. I used the gold, and you just kind of paint. It's got to be really clean deck, and then you just kind of paint it on like whitewash, and it lasts like 6 months. It looks wonderful. It looks like it would be varnishy and smooth, but it isn't. It's totally non-skid. It looks quite wonderful. If you have a brand new boat, you just want it to look absolutely stunning. This is the stuff to do. But now I just let it go gray. Wish I had always just let it go gray. It's never going to look absolutely wonderful, but you can let anybody walk on it with any shoe. You can scrape things over the deck, and if it scratches the wood a little bit, it doesn't matter because it's all kind of scratched up old wood. It is an aesthetic. Maybe it's that rat bike kind of a concept, but I like it. We're going back to varnish for the teak superstructure because Emily really wants to do it. But when we met, I had it all gray. And
it was Cetal with gray flaking through.
Oh, okay. It was gray before. I guess I Cetal'd it. I had a weak moment and I Cetal'd it again at some point.
I met you and said, I want to varnish your boat. And I want to recaulk your shower. Let's see. So that's that. Deborah wants to know, I don't have the whole question in front of me right now, but she wants to know basically, here we go. Have you ever developed a type of business plan or a map for your vlog? I assume she means our YouTube channel. Do you just wing it? Seems to be a disciplined approach.
Definitely, with Emily involved, there was a business plan. We had a mission statement.
There's a family meeting. Well, so when we started, we set out in 2016, and I had a phone, and I was just making little videos. It was basically, things we could send our grandparents and say, hey, this is where we're at, this is what we're doing. And I had a little bit of a social media following from my previous life with tiny house stuff, so I had a Facebook page that had like 2,000 or 3,000 followers on it, and things like that. And so we got a little bit of momentum going from the sailing stuff, and it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of work when you don't have the equipment that you need to do a good job. We always knew we weren't going to go out and spend a bunch of money on cameras. Everything from a business standpoint that we do, we run on
Well, to start with, we've now spent a lot of money on cameras.
Yeah, but not until we've made money
right,
on
okay.
it, is what I'm saying. Is everything from a business standpoint that we've ever done, we don't spend money until we've made some money, or
right.
we spend a very limited amount. So
the boat tour video, which is, we have to redo it because
shot it on one of these.
it was all shot on a cell phone,
But
and
5 years
it sounds
ago.
like hell.
Yeah. So we had one little GoPro, I think, that you had from pre-Emily days, and we had my cell phone, and we tried a bunch of lavalier mics and all kinds of things, and we got to a point where we decided, if we're going to do video, seriously, and invest time every week in doing video, you kind of have to do it every week for YouTube to keep promoting you. It's the algorithm, I guess. But if we were going to spend this time and the stress, because making videos is a lot of work, especially, like, I remember when you were carving the wind generator blade, you were like, this is a one-day project. Well, when we turned it into a how-to video, it became like a week-long project.
Yeah, it just took
It was a lot of stress. It was a stressful week for us. And after that, we were like, why are we doing this YouTube
And
stuff in
continuity
the first place?
problems. You're not dirty and sweaty enough to finish up from here.
Yeah. We had to keep changing shirts and things. But so we decided, like, who are we, and what are the kinds of videos that we want to make? Who would want to watch our videos? What's on YouTube? There's tons of this bikinis and beaches and beer type sailing channel, and that's not really us. And also, if that was our whole life, why would we really want to share it? I guess we would just want to enjoy it, right? So, and I was learning a lot of new stuff about sailing, so I think you got to see kind of things through my eyes a little differently.
Sure, and we're always meeting people and talking about stuff.
Yeah.
I'm pretty technical, and I really look into the things that I get involved in, and usually end up just re-engineering them myself. So I've developed a lot of opinions about things.
Yeah.
For example, that lightning video, probably the easiest video we've ever done, because I've just had that talk so many times with people around beers.
Yeah.
So we set up a chair, I sat in the chair, she turned on a camera, and I just started talking. That thing is like not even edited, it's just me talking.
Yeah, so in
And
terms
definitely
of...
no document, no script.
Yeah, a lot of the things, when we decide what videos we're doing, we just think about what are the things that we've explained to people 3, 4, or 5 times, or that we're always talking about, and people say, oh, I didn't know that. Put it in a video. And a lot of times when you talk to people now, you'll just say, I won't talk about it, just watch the video.
Yeah. I also look back, when I didn't know a certain thing, what would it have been worth to know it? For example, the Retired at 36, oh my God, if someone could have given me that video at 30, if I could have looked at some old man who had done it successfully, I would have felt so much better about the whole process. So we try to do that, and we like to think there's some little nugget of wisdom in every video we do.
Yeah, I think when it really took off, we did a cruising guide that showed, we got on Google Maps and zoomed in and basically said, if you leave from Florida, here's all the places we stop exactly. Here's the anchorage where there's a sunken plane. Here's where you go to swim with stingrays. Here's all this stuff that you can do in the Bahamas. And when we got to Georgetown that year, we had people coming up to us on the street saying, hey, I watched your video and that's how I got here. And we just got a lot of people coming back to us saying how much they appreciated that video. And I think that was an aha moment for us, that we wanted to be making videos for people who either had just bought a boat and were just getting into this life, or people who were thinking about it, who were wondering, how much it costs, can they do it, is it possible, all that sort of stuff. So that's where the monthly budget came from, which seems to be popular with people.
Yeah.
And that's where the how-to videos, we have kind of like the Capable Cruising series, which is more the how-to. We had more of an adventuring series that we started a couple summers ago as we were going back to the Bahamas, that were more sort of day in the life sort of things, and I guess they didn't do as well as we thought they would.
Yeah.
So
we did music videos and they do terribly.
Yeah, so we had kind of like this smattering of stuff first, and the stuff that stuck, I guess. But we did sort of outline, here's 4 or 5 different categories of videos that we could possibly do. We'll do some of these and monitor them, and then sort of follow where our videos are needed. So
Well, that's the planning.
That's the plan. And every once in a while we revisit the plan, I think.
But, and the detail of it, it's like Monday, and we say, well, what's this week's video going to be?
Mm-hmm.
We are not like ahead of game. You guys on Patreon, you're getting it like the minute we upload it, and it's usually Friday night.
We do have...
I really want to be ahead. I hate to be behind in this cycle.
Look at, we have a giant list of videos in
Yeah,
progress.
but we don't have any in
and
progress.
video ideas,
Yeah.
and...
Speaking of upcoming
Q&A
videos,
videos.
I definitely want to do some more technical videos about the bank manager and that lead lithium thing, because that's really come along lately. Temptress is running on the bank manager right now, and it's working. A buddy of mine who's getting one of them for testing pointed out a document that talks about how lithium really wants to be charged, and there is not any commercial chargers that are doing it right, by that definition. We're going to put some of that logic in the first one, and probably there's going to be a version 2 of this device. It's going to have like a liquid crystal display and easier to program, and it's going to handle 24 volt systems and 48 volt systems and all that. That one I haven't decided, but I might actually put on a voltage, an amperage sensor, in which case this thing could just absolutely baby the lithium and take care of it beautifully. So it will be the safest way to have your lithium last a long time.
Mm-hmm. And we keep talking about both this and the air conditioner, and we're working on them. We're getting it ready to go. He's programmed all these things. I'm sad to say I don't think people will have air conditioners before this summer is over, but hopefully you will have them next summer.
Be like 2 or 3 weeks. He'll have them. I don't know how long it's going to take him to put them in boxes and send it out.
Business takes a long time.
Yeah, I'm waiting for him to take Emily's effort. She did a web page, and take that web page and put it up somewhere. And as soon as that happens, I'll send out a mailing list to the 1,000-some people that are interested. That'll point you to that web page, and you can start getting information on the fly from that web page. Yeah,
it's
just he hasn't done it
yet. If you go to... Is there more than one air conditioning video on our channel? There's a survey. There's a link to a Google form you can fill out, add your email address there. We have all those email addresses, and as soon as we know about the air conditioning, you will know about the air conditioning. Just sign up there. But it is coming.
I don't spam, so that's why you're not hearing anything yet. I don't have anything to say. Yeah. But there'll just be a few emails from us on that list. Then, of course, you probably have to sign up on his list if you want to keep knowing stuff.
Old Guy, that's actually the name, wants to know what we think about the interest in our YouTube channel going up, and is it something that is going to continue, we think, or do we know why it's going up?
I think it's going up mostly because once this happened this year, I started looking back into the history, and it seems every year in the early summer we get a boost, and then around now it drops off a bit. And I think it's because everybody that has boats up in like Lake Ontario and cold places, seasonal boats, are just getting into that boat idea, and they find us. This year we took off with a big explosion, and that could have just been because we had enough critical mass so that, we grew from there. But I think it had a bit to do with the air conditioning and the lithium batteries and those kind of things. I think maybe our quality's up a little bit.
Yeah, it's very odd. Sometimes we put out a video and we think it'll do really well, and it just flops, and then other times it's like the 5 knots video.
It's got a 250,000 views.
Like Wednesday morning, we're like, what are we going to make a video on this week? And I was playing with some rope, and I was like, okay, let's talk about knots this week. And it's got how much now?
250,000.
Jesus. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So I don't know what interest.
Realize we get like 3,000 or 4,000 views on a video. It comes in pulses,
but when you get, and the reason our video took off in the first place was your retired at 36 video, which I think we had just hit 1,000 subscribers like a month or 2 before, and all of a sudden that one just went whoop. I think somebody shared it on Reddit and some other things, and it just sort of
we got lucky
from there.
We just got lucky.
Sorry, I'm writing
it's all right.
How long did it take us to make the lifestyle shift from living on land to living aboard a boat? I think I talked about this a lot with the recent girl video, but why don't you talk about way back in the old days? I had to knock rocks together and things, but no, it was 10 years. I bought the boat and I moved on the boat within a few months and just started working on it. And just physically living on the boat had a lot to do with getting ready. I used to read a lot of travelogues of other people that would be like watching videos nowadays. To get a feeling for the lifestyle, and then when I started doing it, I just stopped reading all those and it just became life. It
probably looks about as foreign as anything you could possibly imagine. It looks like you've moved to Mars or something, but it isn't. It's a perfectly wonderful way to live. You could have discomforts that you don't have on land, but you have a lot of pluses that you also don't have on land. And give it a shot. It's a great way to live, and it feels natural pretty quick.
Yeah, I think, but
Not
also
for everybody.
But also, you and I both are people that didn't have a whole lot of roots and attachment to land. I mean, you moved around a lot for work.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in 3 different states before I went out sailing and had this tiny house idea. So I had eliminated a lot of stuff, gotten used to like all your clothes being in, bags and things, and rather than having a walk-in closet or something like that. So, yeah, I think there was a lot of that I did anyway, paring down my lifestyle, because I had a big 2,400 square foot old 100-year-old house for a while, and then got divorced, sold the house, and whittled everything down to a tiny house. So that was a good exercise for me, and I think that process took a lot longer. And then moving from the tiny house to the boat, I'm always thinking like, oh, that was no big deal, that was fine. But I had been working for, like you said, 10 years to move from that big house to the tiny house idea. So it was all an intentional focusing of getting where we need to be.
It also, I just like to know how stuff works. So it's an opportunity to learn a lot of things, like how to do medicine and stuff. You can just, as a hobby, learn medicine and live in Chicago, but if something really happened, you would probably go to a professional. Out here, we often don't have a professional available. So makes that, I don't know, it's like being a survivalist for the fun of being a survivalist. I don't expect, I say the zombie apocalypse because I don't really expect the end of the world, but we still live that kind of life, and it makes it practical. So there's a reason for knowing how to do a minor surgery or choose the right antibiotic or whatever.
I hope that sort of answered your question, Michael. What tools do you need on a boat?
Everything.
We keep talking about making a tools video, but that would require us to clean our tool room and lug out all of our tools and all the stuff that we have.
90% of the time, I grab my 1/4-inch socket set, and since I've put some Japanese engine and stuff on board, it has both SAE and metric. The outboard and the main prime mover are both metric, and everything else is SAE. But my little 1/4-inch socket set is 90%, and a screwdriver does 90% of all jobs. But it depends how much you want to do. If you need to do refrigeration, you need your refrigeration tools. You can't work without those. If you want to do wood, like I carry a belt sander. I really like my belt sander. I use it a lot. Two angle grinders. Well, I want one set up with a metal cutting blade and one set up with a wood sanding blade, just so I don't have to change. Of course, a jigsaw. I used to have a circular saw, but I don't carry that anymore. Just never used it. Clamps. They take up a lot of space, and you don't need them at all until you need them. Then you really need them. Let's see.
Epoxy.
And then there's epoxy and all that.
There's like tools, and then there's supplies like epoxy and fiberglass and
like swaging gear, so you can make necker presses. Once you need one, you should buy one. It's not that big, and then once you've got one, you kind of can't figure out how you can live without it.
I mean, basically, if you go the way Clark did it, you buy a boat, and then every time you do a project, instead of paying someone else to do it, you go buy your own tools, learn how to use them, and then over your lifetime, you develop this big collection of tools.
I've had two special friends in my life that taught me a lot. They were both machinists. The first one I stumbled across, named Bert. He's since dead. And he was a high-end machinist. This guy used to work for the University of Washington. He was the machinist that machined vacuum tubes. And he did all kinds of crazy stuff. He made the first transmission from a jet engine to one of those hydroplane race boats to the propeller. So, he could do anything. And I learned a lot from him. And then years later, I needed a lathe. So I found another guy that had one and didn't have any. You find this great synergistic thing where he had the equipment, but he just didn't know what to do with it. And I have ideas, but I didn't have the equipment. The guy was named Manny. And Manny, he had a lot of tools. And one day we were over at his place, and the line got plugged up. And he said, well, guess I'll have to snake that out. And he goes and he pulls out a power snake. And I kind of said, you have a power snake? He goes, as you go through life, when you need something, you can either hire someone to do it because they have the tool, or you can learn how to do it and just go buy the tool. It's probably cheaper to do the latter, and then you have the tool. And he's right. And, years later, now I have a power snake back at my house.
I think there are a few tools that we bought after calculating the cost of how many days to rent it for and how it was to just have the tool. But also they take up space too, so not going to have a pipe snake on this.
Oh, well, there's no need for one here.
Yeah.
But I rented one, and then the papaya tree got back into the sewage line, so I just bought one.
Yep.
So buy tools. They're a great investment.
Tools.
And learn to use them.
That would be another thing. I'll put my food list up on Patreon, and you can put your tool list up on Patreon. Not every tool, but like the starting list. I'll read them to you, and we can write them down.
Okay.
We'll go through the tool room. We have to clean the tool room anyway. Let's see. Medical insurance. How much is medical insurance, and what kind is there available in the DR?
Whole video on that. Oh, the DR actually has a deal for tourists to buy medical insurance.
I don't know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, I think it costs like $100 a month.
Yeah, it's not expensive here. Like we were talking to Nino, our taxi driver, and I think he gets his health insurance for his whole family for like $100, $50, somewhere in there. But yeah, there's called the Gringo Health Insurance, the expats here. Not that they're all white gringos, but there is a way. And also medical care is less expensive here. So there have been people who have beat cancer here for, I don't know, $20,000.
We don't have the local insurance, and we've actually run up quite a bill by DR standards. Emily's had some issues. She had to have a surgery. We sent a letter back to our insurance company saying we're on vacation and this happened, and they paid it. So that could happen.
And I think they see the prices and they just say, okay.
It's obviously a mistake. Pay it quickly.
CAT scan for what, $100 or whatever? Sure. Take it.
But even if not, it's not like we can't afford. It's in the U.S. It could be very, very painful to have something done. As she said, somebody without insurance went through chemo and beat cancer for $20,000, all in.
And it's also worth mentioning. I'm sure there are other places like this, but in Luperon there have been a lot of people who have come here on boats. Their boat is sitting here. They've purchased some property on land because it's so inexpensive. They got health insurance here, and they just live here for now. They might get on their boat and go somewhere else, but it is a very practical place to live in a lot of respects.
Yeah. There's trade-offs. It's got its own challenges.
Yep. But I'm sure for $100 a month or something around there, we could probably figure that out. We have friends who have done it. We haven't done it, but not what you would pay.
Read the fine print. We had some friends that paid for a while, tried to use it, and it turns out they were too old to collect.
Yeah, they were just qualifying.
So they've just been paying without being covered.
Any good videos about boat window replacement? Water leaks? Asks Wendy in Newport.
Don't try to caulk over the outside. Disassemble it, reassemble it like it was done from the factory. It's the only thing that really works. Just trying to put silicone on the outside just never holds up.
Take it out and put it back in.
Yeah, take it out and put it back in.
We've only taken out the one.
Ours are really different. I'm sure she's talking about modern windows. You could look at our friends over there in the yard, Erica and Davies, Barefoot Ski and
Barefoot Sail and Dive.
Yeah, I think they just put on windows just recently. I didn't watch that video yet, so I don't know.
Barefoot Sail and Dive on YouTube.
Yeah.
Got two lists going now. Okay, somebody's asking, going back to the question of where to find affordable boats, are there places as you were going down the west coast toward Panama and these other places, are there hot spots where boats kind of bring people to and then those people stop sailing and their boats are available? Yeah,
well in Florida, it seems like there's a bunch of boats that might be for sale in Marathon. Florida, relatively cheap for boats because, this is my joke, but it's true. Old men bring boats to Florida and then die. So boats just kind of arrive there and it drives the price down. Oh, let's see. Grenada might be a reasonable place because it's kind of where you hang out for a while and you might lose interest. This definitely
Yeah,
is.
there's a lot of boats trading
for
hands
sale
here.
here. Somebody wanted a small trawler. I think there's one for sale here that some friends of ours just moved to a bigger trawler, which they bought here. So places like this, places where people come in and dally for a while, are good places. And they're like this. If you were to search online and say, "Are any boats available here?" you probably wouldn't find any. You just have to show up and ask around, and it's like, "Oh yeah, that one's for sale, and that one's for sale." And he'd probably sell that one if you asked real nice.
Yeah, a lot of word of mouth sort of stuff. What kind of watch are you wearing, Clark?
You know, when you retire, you get a watch. You know that old thing. She retired, closed her corporation down, and she bought me a very nice watch. This is a Citizen Blue Angel watch.
If you go to one of the links in a bunch of people have asked this and we had to keep looking it up, so it's in our Amazon storefront.
Okay.
That you can go take a look at it. Hey, Peter Gaskin says hi.
Hey, Peter. I'm playing bass. I'm playing Zombie, and I'm playing Cashmere, and I'm playing bass, man. And I'm as bad as I was in high school.
Okay, let me catch up. I put a note here about have we had any luck growing tools, but I think that was my ADHD writing down two different things at the same time.
Okay.
Somebody wants to know about growing tools. That was my tools, and then somebody else wants to know about have we had luck growing like herbs and things on the boat. Seem to remember you had some small things like tomatoes at one point.
Emily has planted everything you could possibly imagine and killed them all.
I had a really successful first year on the boat. When we were just traveling a lot, because they're up on the housetop, and we had the bimini up, so I was able to kind of move them and shade them and take care of them a lot. But when we're like here, it's just so unbelievably hot, and we're living down below, and I just haven't had time. But there are plenty of people who grow a lot of stuff. If you know, if you've ever watched the YouTube channel Another Adventure, Jolly Holly, they have chickens on their boat right now. They have chickens, and they have these containers all around the outside of their boat. That they're growing herbs and I don't know, all kinds of peppers and all
Emily's
kinds of things.
built
they're
planters and all kinds of stuff. The problem is she does have a little ADHD, and
I forget about
she's
them.
absolutely gets it all set up perfectly, and then does something else for like 3 days. And plants can't take not being watered for 3 days.
You can't bring them back unless they die.
Yeah,
especially the farther south that we go.
We actually
in Florida,
have
it was much better.
little pots of dirt all over the boat right now. There's some by the
galley.
just now. There were like 4 by the galley this morning.
There's some mason jars there. Because when I like seed a vegetable or whatever, I'll just throw them in there. If they grow, they're happy. But yes, there are ways to grow things on the boat. There's a Facebook group called Gardening on a Boat, I think. You could check it out. I'm pretty sure there is one called Gardening
It really doesn't use that much fresh water, as far as keeping up with your water maker and stuff. I was a little worried, they would need gallons a day, and they don't seem to.
But the other thing to look, the things that I liked growing were, like when I get to a new place, I'll often buy some green onions, because why would anybody buy green onions more than once a year? Because you buy them and put them in dirt, and then they just are there, and you can give them a haircut anytime you want them.
And she keeps those right by the sink, so whenever she does dishes, she just gives them a little water.
Yeah, and like herbs, like Thai basil we had for a while. Make some good pho or ramen noodle soup with some Thai basil or rosemary. Just like if you're out for a long time and you don't have fresh grocery store and that sort of thing, it's nice to have little herbs to sort of brighten up your food.
Not that it's something you grow, but it's also where you're going to be going. There's coconuts. And you can make your own coconut milk. We're not doing it right here because, well, I guess they're not easily available. Actually, there's this place in Florida. Whenever we left Tampa, we would stop there, and it's just a ritzy neighborhood with the canals. And the gardeners would cut the coconuts down so they wouldn't hit somebody and drop them in the canal. So I'd figure out which way the tide was going and the wind was going, and we'd just collect all these coconuts. We start every cruise out with like 30 coconuts. I called them free-range coconuts because I just put them on the foredeck. And we'd go sailing. And if they wanted to leave the boat, they could. They weren't tied down or anything. They'd roll back and forth between the gunnels. But most of them stayed on, and they would get eaten eventually.
Did. One of them got all our patron names put on it. Overboard on the return trip to Florida, I think. Did I ever make that video? See, we have all these videos in the can that I don't know if
you never made that video.
Sailing Redneck Redcoat said a bunch of things, but maybe had typos and rewrote them. Your videos have helped us get going with our sailboat life. Thanks. Good to hear. Lots of thank yous. People saying blah blah blah. How is the temperature in that cabin with the AC running right now?
I'd have to go over there to check the actual temperature, but I'd say it's like 82 now.
Yeah, it's mostly drying out.
Yeah.
It's the dehumidification.
I sweat terribly. Look at all my videos, and look, my shirt's dry.
Yeah, but we've got lights on us, and the sun is being down, and we have no awning, and it's the most hot point of the day, so...
Yeah, it's doing really well. It was 101 when we turned it on.
Yeah, and it was 88 when we got in here, so it's probably down a couple more degrees.
But it's not designed to do this, so that's why it's running full out.
We designed it to run in the night.
Yeah.
So
I actually should have turned it up to full RPM. I just didn't think to. This is where I have it set for night.
Sail Life and Ran have both started talking about lithium and AGM mixing and how they are managing it.
Okay.
Did you know that? We don't keep up with other
no,
channels.
I really don't. Yeah, actually, I did know about
I think somebody told us about Ran.
Because someone's been reporting back to us, and
Ran.
I looked at some of his videos. He really needs my bank manager. He really needs it bad. And it's not like he doesn't have the budget, because, boy, he spent some money on that system.
Would you suggest living on a boat in some place like Florida for a year or so, or once you have the boat in basic classes, take off sailing for the Bahamas?
Yeah, Bahamas.
Don't live on a boat in Florida for a year.
It's hot and miserable
terrible.
And humid. It's a swamp. If you need to be there to work or something, by all means, or if you need there to work on the boat. But if you can just get the things you need, get the boat safe, and get the things you need to work, it's way better to work on the boat in the Bahamas.
Oh, yeah.
The Bahamas are essentially a desert with an ocean running through it. It's a dry place, and it's so much more comfortable. Where Florida, it is a swamp, and those thunderstorms that happen every day just make it humid and miserable.
Yeah.
So cross that Gulf Stream and life gets so much better.
Yeah, if you can cross the Gulf Stream and get yourself to a place like Georgetown or some of the other places where you have...
But bring everything with you, because
Yes.
you're not going to find anything, and importing anything is really kind of crazy.
So go to Florida, then visit Home Depot and Costco and load up your boat, and then go to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And
I used to tell people, okay, if you want to, this is a way to make money. Anybody wants to make money and loves boats, here's what you do. You go to Florida, where I said, you got these old guys brought boats down and get sick. Buy a decent boat with good bones that needs some work. Put everything on it you need, get the engine running and everything. Sail over to the Bahamas. Spend the season in the Bahamas working on the boat. That's your job.
And going swimming in the beautiful water.
Then at the end of the season, take it up to New England, where boats actually have some value, and sell it. And then go down and buy another boat. And you could do this cycle. You get to live this life. Of course, you're working on the boat. You've got to enjoy that.
But you can also learn about.
Yeah, and there's some profit to be made taking these boats up the coast by way of your efforts.
Let's see. In talking about your battery manager, I would like to know if you are going to provide a way to limit the lithium battery charge to less than 100% charge to extend the life of the lithium.
Yes, 2 ways right now in the first one, and then another way in the later one. You can choose basically any cutoff voltage you want, and you can actually add a soak time after that, but don't worry. So you just choose whatever cutoff voltage. I have them going off at 13.8, and then the lead keeps charging right up into the 14s so that it gets fully charged. And then the other thing it's going to do is, if you've done a charge cycle on the lithium and then the batteries have gone back down, it won't let the lithium charge again until it is proven that it's been discharged. In other words, the voltage of the lithium went below a certain threshold. It sounds a little weird at first, but if you think about it, it does like 90% of the safeties. What could happen here is you go to full charge that you want, and when there's charged as you want them to be, a cloud comes over and everything goes down. And then the storm goes away and they charge again that day. So now you take your fully charged lithium and you put it through another charge cycle. And that actually isn't safe for them. So with this little switch position, if you choose it, the bank manager version 1 will be able to say, okay, you just charged recently and I haven't seen you go down to say 13.2 or something like that. So I'm going to assume you're still fully charged, and you don't get to play in the charging pool until you've been discharged. Which would also be the case if you just parked a boat and didn't use it and shut everything off. You'd want your batteries to charge up a bit, but you wouldn't want to charge them every day, because all they did is maybe occasionally run a bilge pump. So this would protect it. So it would charge them up to wherever you want them, 70-80%, and then it just wouldn't charge them again, maybe for weeks until they've come down, and then it would give them another cycle. I haven't found a commercial one that does that. So I think that's kind of...
You have absolute power.
Yeah, and I can do that because the lead is there. So at any time, you get to a situation where they're charged enough and I don't want them charged anymore. If it's the BMS trying to do it or the charger's trying to do it, it kind of can't take them out of the system because, well, you need to run the lights and fans. And the lead is there for that, but the lead isn't actually running the lights and fans. It's actually coming right out of the solar panels, the lead just mediating it. You know how that works normally. So because of this hybrid, you get to do those stuff, all those things. And then, of course, the number one reason to keep lead around is it's tough. And if you're going to just play around near a marina, you might as well play with whatever you want to play with. But if you're going to go out where we go and you have a battery failure, you're not going to find new lithium batteries out here. It's going to be really hard to get them out here. And you might actually be stranded somewhere without an engine or navigation or anything. Just a little bit of lead still in your system and you're way safer. Okay, enough preaching.
So yes.
Yes. As well as I possibly can at every level of hardware that I produce.
Yep. Are you on a sailboat right now or in a tiny house? We're on a sailboat.
Yep.
Arboured hole saws are proving to be the most useful thing so far for sailing neck red code.
If you ever are using a hole saw and you've made the hole the wrong size and now you need a bigger hole, you have to kind of like glue a little piece of wood on the inside so you can redo the hole. That's just or sometimes you can do something with putting two blades on so that, because otherwise, you know, they have to line up. Mm-hmm. It took me a while to figure that out.
What's up with your cough? I think you might be a long hauler due to COVID.
I am a long hauler due to COVID.
He always coughs.
But also, I've got chronic bronchitis and I cough most of the time. But it's worse lately.
It's just like other people clear their throat. Clark just coughs.
Yeah, sorry. But it's worse now than it has been past years. But I've had the flu before. The same thing happens, and it takes 6-8 months for me to be at all normal.
Mm-hmm. Do you still carry traditional navigation equipment such as sextant, paper charts, etc. from ultimate backup?
I carry them.
We do. Never looked at them.
Yeah, we actually have a sextant on board. I set all this up before I had a GPS, you know. I don't have paper. I have like charts in books, but not good charts.
They were crumbling apart. We have some in the shed at home that are.
I have
the blueprints and everything. 2
different chart plotters, and then we have 3 computers that all run on different power supplies if necessary. That all have chart and chart plotter software on them, plus our cell phones and everything. I know it's all electronic that we have now, but there's so much redundancy that I'm comfortable again. Also, it sounds weird, but once you've been in a bay, you kind of know where the rocks are in that bay, or at least you know a safe way to get in. And I've been all through the Caribbean. If you put me in Grenada and said you just need to go home and I had nothing, I could safely get back to Florida. Just going, I'd have to skip harbors I've not been in before, but I've been into enough of them I could just go into them without a real worry.
Nicholas Bigney, hi. Nick, from dry land home, about to go back to the boat. We're going to try growing herbs, most likely lemon basil. You can't kill that. Maybe the hanging gardens of Babylon. Type tomatoes. I probably have killed it. But I guess the other thing you could look into, somebody else mentioned they would have chickens except for fowl importation laws. There are places you go where they'll take your plants because you're not allowed to import things. But look into, I was silly and I tried to grow things that are hardy for, temperate or subtropical climates. They won't work down here, but if I planted something like Malabar spinach or rosemary does pretty good in zone 11, 12, look into the zones of what are the things that grow in the place you're going to travel, because if you just try to grow carrots, you're not going to be successful.
Sure. That deal about bringing in plants and stuff, definitely an issue, U.S. and Canada, definitely. I don't think I've really ever been asked anywhere else.
I know Stuart and Zaya had some when they got to, where were they going? Panama. They had some herbs that got taken away. Oh, okay. That was a couple years ago.
Panama kind of learned how to be a bureaucracy from the U.S. So that makes sense. But most of the places just kind of don't care so much.
Oh, lithium battery charger PCB looks very professional. What CAD package did you use?
It's the open source one.
KiCad?
KiCad, yeah.
KiCad?
KiCad. I liked it. I really liked it. And then I use the same chip that's in an Arduino, so I just use the Arduino IDE to do the programming. But KiCad, yeah. And it's the first thing I ever did, and I figured it out just by watching a video and kind of doing one step at a time, kind of did his, whatever board he was making, I basically made the same board just to learn how to do it. And it's wonderful and really quite easy and, yeah, professional. And then I send it to JBLPCB, I think it is.
Yeah, some really crazy long acronym.
Yeah, and that was it's cheap, fast, and good. They do put a certain type of diode in upside down every time I ask, so I've just learned to ask for them upside down so that I get them right side up. But otherwise, it's been a great experience. And thank you.
Oh, Nick wants to know, did the tooth game ever take off? Yes, it did. I haven't emailed you about that. So Nick created a really cool prototype of something that I was using in a game, but so the game I created called Battle Dental, which is about a tooth fairy and a gum goblin, and it's a chess sort of like strategy game where you're collecting teeth from a game board. It was signed just recently by Bright Eye Games in the UK, and it will be published in several languages starting, they're saying Q2 of 2022. So yeah, you can look out for that to become a thing. I don't think they're going to end up doing the big wooden skull that opens up and has teeth in it. It's probably going to be more cardboard, but yeah, exciting stuff. It's a cool process. Somebody's saying Jimmy from Sweden on an Albin 25 with a channel. I think it means he's got a YouTube channel called On the Surf. So yeah, feel free, talk about your channel. Go support Jimmy and his channel. Ramon Rodriguez, what land adventures do you recommend in Dominican Republic?
Well, we just got back from one.
We did. We just went on Saturday. We went to this place called Agua Verde, which is Guananico. I don't know how you say it. It's just south of us, maybe like an hour. It was a little sort of like a fresh spring swimming hole. And it's
up in the mountains, so it was much cooler.
Yeah, it was much cooler. It was nice. We did
hung
that.
Out, and they have a bar there, and they have actually it's kind of in a valley. Where the river is, of course, and they have this cable car system, and they send drinks down to you on the cable car.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
And you can bring your own lunch. We brought our own food and ate.
Yeah, we brought a picnic with friends, so that was nice. There's a place called the 27 Charcoals, is that what it's called? There's a waterfall sort of adventure place, which we haven't been to yet. I haven't been to yet.
Yeah, I went there last time I was here, yes.
There are bus trips you can take. We haven't done a whole lot of this stuff.
It was the whole, it was the try not to get sick, and then we got sick, and then we were only kind of healthy and inoculated as of a little while ago.
Thank you. The old guy just sent us $5. Thank you.
Oh,
we always
forget that even is a thing. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Stan Cottrell, Emily, any special precautions for your musical instruments? I play the guitar, but worry about humidity aboard.
Let me talk about mine then.
Yeah, go ahead. Mine are all rubber and nylon,
yes.
except for 2 strings, which I replace constantly.
I have a Dreadnought Ibanez 6-string steel string guitar. I bought it and put it on this boat in probably about 1995. It's traveled with me through the Panama Canal and all over, everywhere I've ever been on this boat. Occasionally it's in my house, but mostly on the boat. When it's on the boat, it never goes out of tune. The humidity is it's like being in a humidor, and wood within reason doesn't really care what its humidity is as long as it stays the same. So it's just always the same, and I grab it, and I've had to put new machines on it because of salt water, and I have to change strings a lot more often than I would on land, but it's just seems to be the best place for it. It's just really good, and it's a solid front wood type good guitar. Emily's are more budget ukulele type instruments, but you haven't had any real problem with them.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of rust on the tuning parts and the string. I have 2 wound strings that I usually use on my baritone uke, and I was snapping a string like every 3 weeks once we started getting serious about the band. So I've recently bought some What are they, nylon or fluorocarbon? I don't know.
Okay.
You would know
They're
better than I
fluorocarbon.
would. Fluorocarbon strings for that.
The cases. The zippered cases. The zippers fail all the time.
Zippers on everything fail.
Yeah.
On boats.
Because you can't get them with good zippers. For the base that we just bought, her mom made us a case, so it's actually done without zippers, done with like how a dry
Velcro
bag
and
works
dry
and
bag,
clips. And it's a much better idea, and I think that case will last. Well, it's also made of really good
Fantastic,
material.
yeah. We made it out of sunbrella with some neoprene insulation on it. Yeah, she did a very good job.
But when I put one of those backpack cases, I put it on my back and get in the dinghy and take off, and it gets salt spray. The guitar is fine, but the cases last me about 2 years.
I'm looking for it. Just about 3 o'clock. I'm just gonna scan. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to pop them in there. Oh, Peter Gaskin, he's the one to ask. It's the rapid change of humidity that gives the most trouble on a stringed instrument. They take on moisture well. Drying out, they don't do so much.
Yep, that's my observation. And Peter would know. He's been on the cover of Bass Magazine or whatever. I can't remember the name of it, but whatever the big magazine is for bass players, he's been on the cover. He is a bit of a luthier, and he is a ukulele player and builder too. And I went to high school with him, if you're wondering.
Scanning for... here's one I missed. Clark, I've watched your Enough is Enough video probably 6 times. It was the message I needed. Retired from the corporate fight a year ago now. I live in Montana, hike and live intentionally. Thank you. From Agent Abe.
Well, good on you.
Yeah.
I had a nice message today. Someone said they watched my refrigeration videos and took their broken Adler Barber, and for $50, which was all tools he needed, it's working again.
Awesome.
So that's pretty cool, because that saves you like $1,000 or something.
That's great. There were a lot of people asking about the AC and the battery. If you sign up on that survey on one of our videos,
you'll know when we know.
You'll know when we know.
And it's soon.
It is. It's imminent.
But it's 100 of them, and over 1,000 people want one. So my advice is, if you're not serious, just wait. But if you're serious and you're ready to take the risk, because there's risk in anything, it's working for me. Get on it the minute, because they're just going to disappear.
Peter said, "LOL" on the cover. No, never, but everything else is correct. Here we go. Oh, Daniel, I have one question. Do you organize online boarding games like Dungeons and Dragons?
We used to actually have a D&D group on the boat.
We were playing RuneQuest with some friends on the boat for a while. I prototype board games through something called Tabletop Simulator, which is on the Steam community. So when I'm designing games, I will meet up with, and I had a playtesting group I did in May. And somebody from New York, somebody from, they were like, 26 of us. And I had split them all into groups of 5, and we all played each other's games because we're all game designers. So I know people in the Philippines, in the United Arab Emirates, and the UK, and New York, and Japan. I'm working with an illustrator in Japan right now to work on one of my projects. So the world is really kind of interesting. And you can play, there's something called Tabletopia too, which I guess is the free version, but I have something called Tabletop Simulator, so I hop on and play board games with people all the time. And then there's a cool website called thegamecrafter.com where you can order game pieces and design board games and just print one copy of something that looks like a printed game that you get at a store for...
Yeah, they cost more that way.
It costs more, but between...
If you're just dying to have a copy of one of her games, she probably could organize one through that.
So you gotta get them all in there. But yeah, between like $20 and $50 you can actually make like you can make your own deck of cards, and you can make your own chips and meeples and all kinds of
the juggling games
stuff
already.
Yeah, still have to test it some more. Let's see. Stan says, "Love you guys. Best channel for practical cruising information. We'll become a patron. We'd be happy to have you, Stan."
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our patrons. I've recognized some names here, so thank you for everybody. Carl Smith says, Captain Tolly's Creeping Crack Cure is a great stopgap when you're wanting to try something less than fully rebedding windows and port lights. So that's the answer to Deborah.
Okay.
No, Deborah? Somebody asked about windows earlier. Oops. Perhaps someone already asked, do you invest in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrency?
I haven't. I got asked to do a development project a few years ago that ended up not going anywhere, but it made me do the research of how it worked. I was going to do the software for an ASIC project that was going to mine, the actual chip development. So I kind of learned about all of it. It's going pretty damn crazy. I wish back in the 90s I would have, of course, but so doesn't everybody. I don't know. I just kind of like doing what I do. It's paying the bills, and we don't need to be rich.
We set it and forget it.
Yeah. Though we were thinking about maybe doing, what's that other platform? Because, YouTube has been, cutting down on people's freedom of speech, as it were. And who knows what could happen. So we were looking at other places to put the video. Library, yeah. And Library is all, not Bitcoin, but they have their own cryptocurrency. It's all kind of cryptocurrency based. It was kind of interesting. I ended up not pulling the string on it. Honestly, I'm concerned if I do go up over there, I don't put it past YouTube not to shut us down here or not publish us or promote us. So I'm a good little boy, and I do whatever they say, including all the commercials. I'm sorry for all the commercials. I'm kind of not, because I do like the money. But they sent me a letter when they did those mid-video commercials, and we have very long videos, so we definitely have mid-roll commercials. And if I shut them down or even move them around, they will stop promoting the video. Can you believe that? Yep. So they need their money, and damn it, I guess I have to get some money too.
Dave asked, what language do you write your games in? English. So the online gaming stuff that I do is actually, it's through a platform where the most complicated thing I'm doing is working with Excel sheets and graphic design files and PDFs and things like that. So I'm just uploading things. I'm not doing a whole lot of coding. I know a friend who does some of the coding within this particular platform, but I'm not doing any sort of coding. I'm mostly like designing playing cards and those sorts of things. Emily H., any chance for another Radio Net video? I don't know why I find them interesting. Guess maybe hearing from other boaters. I would. I did the net this morning in Loop Round, and you know what? Nobody talks to me. We do a sound check.
It's not the same community that the Bahamas
is. In Georgetown, it was a blast, and we did so much. When COVID lockdown happened, we were doing, like, every night. We had, like, it's Murder Mystery Night, or we had a trivia.
We had full-on radio plays.
We had an entire schedule of stuff that was going on in Georgetown, and here is like pulling teeth. I get a radio check from somebody in the harbor and somebody on land, and that could be the only voices that I hear on the net in the morning. Otherwise, I just report the weather and what's going on with NOAA, and that there's free yoga every week. And that's about it. And sometimes
it's always the same, except for she starts it out with a stupid riddle, and I think people wait till the end and then click on their microphone when they get the answer to the joke.
Let's see. But yeah, I find the radio nets interesting too. Then there's people to talk to. So we were talking about doing a video on how to use a VHF radio, but I don't know if that's too basic. If anybody's interested in that, give me a comment. Because I think I drafted up a spreadsheet of the video outline and everything, and we could do a video on how to use a VHF radio, but there's just not much going on here on the VHF radio. But I agree, they're fun to watch. I look back at those videos sometimes and I hear the names of people talking and what we were talking about, what the news was. It was kind of cool.
There's one more available. If you go to, they don't have an active channel anymore, but if you go to Stuart and Zaya's channel.
Oh, Sailing Lucky Fish?
Sailing Lucky Fish.
Well, it's the same net, though. It's the same show.
Oh, was it the same day?
It's the same.
Oh, okay.
I thought so. Oh, no, I guess it was a different day.
No,
they filmed
because we didn't film that one.
Day.
Yeah, and they didn't get theirs up until after we put out our own. So they were a big deal, and we were nothing, and they came over to do a show on her show. So that's a third one that's available. You can watch theirs.
That's true. Find Sailing Lucky Fish, and it probably has some clickbaity title.
Yeah.
But my face will be on it. A couple people said not too basic. They would like to see a VHF radio video. Okay, cool. Okay. I'll let you know after I finish my dinghy series, which I have to do.
Yeah, she has to do that first.
Stan is a ham. You guys ever go on SSB nets?
I haven't in years. When I was down Panama Way and over on the Pacific every week, it was really good way of having that net thing go on. World is changing. Part of it is we're in the Bahamas where it's more of a VHF range to people, and part of it is like I'm expecting that Starlink, to be available in months. That's Musk, years, but imminently. And when that's available, I don't even think I'll ever turn my ham radio on again, because I can get it all over the internet. I'm a ham, and we've got Marine single sideband here too. So, I haven't even checked it now. Maybe I've got a problem because I haven't turned it on in like over a year. But in its day, Temptress got out very well, and I was relaying a lot. I was very proud of my system back then.
Cool. You can have another same here vote for VHF radio. Yeah, so it's 3:10, so we should probably wrap things up. Thank you to everybody. We had over 100 people today. Lots of people asking questions, which is fun. Sorry for the... We look really shiny. I don't mean that in a Firefly
we got that
way.
Frankenstein underlit look. It's a campfire story.
We're both kind of sunburned and probably need a shower. But yeah, thanks for spending the time with us. This is fun. I think we'll keep doing them every month. And, stay in touch.
If we survive Grace tomorrow.
Oh yeah, Grace. What a great name for a hurricane, right? Grace. I'm just going to plaster through this island gracefully.
I'm hoping its forecaster showing it go through the middle of this island again. Brings it really close to us, but Hispaniola, which is the name of the physical island that is the Dominican Republic in Haiti, Hispaniola has the highest mountains in the whole Caribbean, and tropical storms hate mountains. So it tears them up pretty good. It's a bunch of walls, and they blow on them, but they can't move them anywhere.
This new disturbance, though, has been upped in chances of formation. The one that went up and came back down.
Oh, another one. Not Grace, but a different
orange.
one? Okay. But that's not going to come back down to here.
No, probably not. Probably not. And I just logged out of YouTube. There we go. Oh, last question. Do you run dehumidifier? Do you run into moisture problems?
Well, air conditioners are dehumidifiers. In fact, about half the energy that I'm putting into this system isn't actually lowering the temperature of the air, but in trying to lower the temperature of the air, it hits the dew point and it has to pull the moisture out. And that phase change of water, Fran's getting very technical, but the phase change of water from gas to liquid takes an amazing amount of energy to do. Or has to, anyway, it ends up costing a bunch of electricity. So yes, we are dehumidifying whenever we're running the air conditioner. And I have noticed that the clothes in my closet aren't mildewing as quickly as normal. And that's particularly surprising because the equipment is in that closet. And I actually have to insulate this piece of pipe that I haven't bothered, this piece of tubing. So it has condensation on it because, it's cold. And the condensation drips on a shirt, but the shirt dries out faster than it becomes a problem because of the air conditioner. So that's kind of cool.
But you have very fashionable, yellow stains on a bunch of your
Well, I
clothes.
used to, but I don't seem to now.
No, I don't think so for a while.
Yeah.
I like your 12 AC butt in from Sweden. So what do you think about a 12-volt heat pump, water-to-water heat pump? I'm going to try and make a prototype this winter. Any advice?
Buy my kit. And I'm not just saying buy my kit to make money, but I am. But that compressor is really something, and you can't buy them like any other place. And it's a defense contractor that makes them. And in fact, I got to make sure we can sell them out of the U.S. I'm not even certain if we can do that yet. It's a DARPA project originally. It kind of sounds all black and scary, and it kind of is. And honestly, I've done engineering in that world, so I contacted them and I said I did not lie. But I did not say that I'm building an air conditioner for my boat. I said I'm doing a project and your compressor looks like it might meet our requirements, and I talked the talk. And they sold me a prototype, but they basically wouldn't sell them to you if you contacted them directly. Even for us to make contact to them, it's like pulling teeth. They're horrible. And they really only want to sell hundreds at a time. And also, they're very expensive. So even though it's expensive through us, that's kind of what they cost. If you get one, and eventually we've been talking about, there's going to be the first kit and the instruction book. That's how to put one in a boat. And it's going to have the condenser and everything for the boat. But RV guys really want to do this too. So we'll make an air-to-air one. And then people like you that want to be able to heat, So I'm going to put some reverser valves in it and figure out, spec good ones and get it so that it can be a heat pump. Because why not? But if you wanted to do it yourself, start with this kit and then put your own reverser valves in it. You should be great. The one thing I haven't worked out yet is I'm using an expansion valve, and I've got to figure out how to use an expansion valve with the reverser valves properly. So if you want to solve that problem, tell me the answer.
Someone else is talking in Swedish.
Okay.
What kind
don't
of
do that. I can't speak
something
Swedish.
do you have? I don't know. I know a tiny bit of Norwegian. I don't know any Swedish.
Ah.
Okay. I think that's probably it for today. If you're on Patreon and we didn't answer your question, feel free to send us a message, or if you're at the Dream Believer level, call us up and we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Everybody else have a super duper.
Yeah, kind of
rest
as a
of your
commercial
week.
for Patreon. This is always how I figured I would make money on the air conditioner, but it's going a different way. But still, the same offer is, if you want to do one of these and you just want to talk about it, if you go at that high level on Patreon, you can just call me on the phone. So far, we don't have enough people calling me that it's becoming a problem, so we're going to keep that perk. And if the thing you want to talk about is how to install air conditioning, then that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, people talk about how to invest in the stock market. I've had the weirdest set
rewire
of
your
different calls.
boat.
A lot of how to
What kind of
rewire a
boat should I
boat.
buy?
Uh-huh.
Do I have enough money yet?
I just like chatting about stuff, so
Yeah.
and I've got time here, so yeah, it works out.
All right. Have a super day, and we'll talk to you guys next month, and you'll see us probably in a video this coming week.
Yep.
Bye. How do I stop it?
Well, you can push the video file,
Video file.
and now we can stop it. You go to the other screen to stop it.